Basic Personal Finance by me. Topic 1, understanding your paycheck.
I'm confused. I don't know.
Okay, general notes. I don't know everything. This is my first. Let me see if I can make this bigger. This is my first attempt at teaching something like this. And these are just general guidelines. It's best to consult with a person who knows your specific situation before making any decisions. I'm recording this session just for people who can't make it today, and ask questions throughout. This is meant to be more like a dialogue than a lecture. Okay, parts of a paycheck. So this is like a sample paycheck that I pulled from the internet, and there's a good amount of portions to it. These are like the main portions. Gross wages, pre-tax deductions, taxable wages, taxes, post-tax deductions, and net income. I'll break it down to go through like each one. Have you guys seen these terms before, or are these terms new to you?
This is so scary for me.
Yeah, I've never heard.
Yeah.
Probably
90%.
only taxes.
Taxes is the only one you've heard before?
And net income. Net income I've heard. I don't know what it means.
Okay.
We're gonna have to go back
That thing is
to
the
the
one that
first
they call.
slide.
Net is what you take home.
Yeah.
It's also called like take-home pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So post taxes and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gross wages. This is what people are usually referring to when they talk about their salary.
Yeah.
So this is what the full amount an employee earns before taxes and other deductions. For example, if someone has a salary of $52,000 and are being paid every 2 weeks, the gross salary on each paycheck is $2,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like the employee doesn't actually get this money. This is just the gross amount that's on their pay stub.
This is what the employer is giving away.
Yes. Actually, the employer gives away more,
Oh.
but
Security.
but I'll get to that part later.
Okay.
Pre-tax deductions. These are deductions that are deducted before calculating a person's taxable income. These items reduce a person's tax liability in the current year. The most common ones are pre-tax deductions and insurance, are traditional retirement contributions and insurance expense. So did this part make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
So what it does is it reduces your taxable income. So if you're making $2,000 per paycheck and you have $500 in pre-tax deductions, your taxable income's only going to be $1,500. So these are removed for purposes of tax.
Do you get it, David?
He said it one more time.
Yeah. So these like cut down your current tax. Like when you file your taxes, you don't file based on your gross income, like the total amount that you have coming in. You have it reduced by the pre-tax deductions. So your W-2, which is the form you get at the end of the year that says how much money you made, even though you made like $52,000, if you have $5,000 in pre-tax deductions, your W-2 is only going to say $47,000. Make sense?
So you owe taxes on the 47,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't owe taxes on the whole
Are you
52,000.
confused why there's pre-tax deductions in the first place?
Yeah, like what? Is it just like a calculation, or they're actually taking?
No,
like,
you are paying for insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like insurance, like the government allows like insurance to be taken out before taxes.
Okay.
So it's beneficial to have these pre-tax.
Mm.
So like traditional retirement contribution, you can contribute to your retirement and have a deduction in the current year. It lowers your current year's taxes.
Yeah, I understand.
That might not always be the best thing to do, but that's an option. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Most common one is a traditional 401k. So yeah, like I was saying, this reduces your tax liability in the current year. So suppose the person makes $100,000 a year, and they have a tax rate of 15%. If they contribute 10,000 to their traditional 401k, they will reduce their current tax burden by $1,500. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So
So their taxable income would now be 90K, and then
instead of the 100.
right, and then the tax burden will go from something to 15, or it will just be
Would it be
reduced by
50%
1,500.
of
50% of 90K.
Yeah, 15% of 90,000 instead of
15%
of 100,000.
Makes sense.
There is a trade-off with a traditional 401k. So generally there's two types of retirement contributions. There's traditional and there's Roth. Have you guys heard of Roth before?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't know what it is, but I have it.
Okay, we'll get into it.
Do you have a retirement account?
Yeah, he made it for me.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I
You
remember
forgot.
this.
Yeah.
The traditional, so when money is withdrawn, like when you put money in from into a traditional account, you get a deduction right away. But when you take the money out, so like say you put in this $10,000, you get a $10,000 deduction right now. But when you take money out, you have to add that money to your income. Like that becomes taxable when you take it out. So traditional, you get a deduction now, you pay tax on it later. Does that make sense?
Do you get taxed on all of it then when you take it out?
Yes.
So if you have $1 million in your 401k,
Yeah.
you pay 15% of that $1
Right.
million.
Yeah. So especially if it's growing, like if you put in 10,000 and it grows to like $1 million, you pay tax on the million, but you get the deduction now.
So there, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So is there like a different tax rate for those kinds of incomes, or no?
Is it whatever is at that time?
No, so for that, it just gets added to your taxable. There is different tax rates for different things. This is not one of those things.
Okay.
This will just be added to your regular income and be taxed at your regular tax rate
For that year.
for that year.
So you would make $1 million that year technically then.
Yeah, if you make $1 million, you'll be, yeah.
Yeah, if you take it out, yeah.
Taxes, okay. They're on a paycheck. Well, did the traditional 401k part make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Taxes. So typically on your paycheck, there are 4 types of taxes. There's federal, state, Social Security, and Medicare. Social Security and Medicare are kind of fixed percentages that you and your employer both pay. So Social Security is 6.2% and Medicare is 1.45%. So 6.2% of your paycheck is going to go to Social Security. But on top of that, your employer is also going to pay that same amount to the government. So that's why I was saying your employer is actually paying more than just your gross wages. They're paying your gross wage plus the 6.2 and 1.45.
Plus your insurance too.
Yeah, but that's not taxes.
Oh.
Your federal and state withholding can be adjusted to essentially whatever you would like, but this will not change your tax obligation at the end of the year. So there's a difference between withholding and your tax obligation. Do you guys, David, do you follow that? Okay, so on your paycheck, they withhold money for taxes.
Yeah.
You got that part.
Yeah.
When you file your taxes, is when you determine how much taxes you actually owe.
Okay.
So if you withhold more than you actually owe, you get
That's
a
what
refund.
tax return.
Your tax refund is just like a reconciliation of like how much you owe versus how much was withheld. So your tax return is what actually decides like how much like you owe. If you withheld more than you owe, you get a refund. If you withheld less, you owe money. Yeah.
Why would you ever withhold more or less?
Why would you?
Yeah.
Because when you're getting your paycheck, you actually don't know how much taxes you're gonna owe. Like the only time you really know, unless you're calculating it throughout the year, how much taxes you owe is when you do your tax return.
So you would want to withhold more just in case you owe a lot?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people withhold more because they want a bigger refund. The ideal situation, you don't really want a big refund. The best situation is to have like a zero, like you don't owe anything and you don't get anything back, because that just means you got your money during the year, instead of just like letting the government borrow it.
But how do you, like, when I started working, like, I never, like, was, like, asked, like, what percentage do I want withheld on my paycheck. They kind of just did it for me.
Did you fill out a W-4?
Probably.
You probably did.
You have
Yeah.
to.
It's this form that you have to like estimate like,
How much you want withhold?
yeah, so it talks about like exemptions, like who can you claim? Can anyone claim you? Do you have any children? And based on that, that's how they withhold.
Okay.
But that's just like an estimation of like that's just like letting your employer know like this is how much they believe they should withhold for you. It doesn't actually affect your actual taxes. It's just the withholding.
So whatever your employer chooses to withhold, you can actually ask them to withhold more or less.
Yeah. You could, like for me, I change my withholding throughout the year. I know like, okay, I'm making more money because XYZ, withhold more. I'm making less money, withhold less. Like I adjust it throughout the year.
Oh, okay.
Is that common practice or no?
No, I would say most people just fill it out once and
Okay.
just let it go.
Yeah, you do it by yourself because people has to go to HR and tell them, I need more money to be withheld.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys feel like you have a handle on like the taxes of a paycheck?
Are the Social Security and Medicare fixed federally?
Yeah, so
They can-
Social Security, it's 6.2%. Unless you make over, I don't know what the new number is, I think it's like probably like 130 or something now. Once you get past that
no,
number,
160 now.
maybe 160, I don't
Yeah.
know. Once you get past that number, they stop withholding on Social Security tax.
That
Because
is
you
the
won't be
reason
pulling
why
Social Security?
when you start taking Social Security out, there is a limit.
Yeah.
I think right now is 3,400 maximum a person can get the Social Security every month. Because you paid only up to certain amount of your salary. A person who made $500,000, he's not paying for $500,000 for Social Security. He's paying only $160,000.
I see.
Every year they will change that amount.
So you don't pay after you make that much, or what are you saying?
Like, I mean, you after the money you earn after that amount, you don't pay Social Security on.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Up until that amount, you pay Social Security on it.
But what about the Medicare?
Medicare actually goes up.
6.2%.
Once you pass, it's like 200,000.
Yeah.
There's an
Yeah.
additional 0.9% that they'll
Yeah,
tax
so
you on.
Oh, interesting.
So whatever the money you make, 500,000, you have to pay all Medicare for 500,000.
All Medicare plus an extra.
Oh,
Yeah.
But these rates that's like across the country?
Yeah, 6.2 and 1.45. Those are fixed numbers.
Okay,
Those
by the
don't
federal
change.
government.
No matter
Yeah.
where you work.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is Social Security?
Social Security, it's kind of like a retirement program
A pension, kind of a pension.
where like people are putting in money now, and when they retire, they will take money from Social Security. It's kind of like there's a lot of talk about will Social Security be around in like
2035.
yeah, in like 10 years from now. It's because we reached a point where there was less money going into Social Security
And people
Then-
weren't dying.
and more coming out. They'll probably figure it out, and I think Social Security will probably be around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Social Security is.
So your paycheck is automatically contributing to Social Security,
Yeah.
6.2%.
Yeah, they're automatically taking. If you
You
look
don't
at your
get a
pay
choice.
stubs, they
Uh-huh.
take it
So
out.
it's 6.2% of every check.
Yes.
Can you see how much money is in your Social Security right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
really?
no, you can't see how much money is in your Social Security. You could look to see how much you've contributed so far. If you go, there's a website.
In dollar amount or in like points?
Dollar amount.
Oh.
I think
Yeah,
it's dollar
every
amounts.
year, they used to send out statement. David George paid 2022 $5,000 to the Social Security or $500 to the Social Security.
Yeah, if there, you could go online and see it.
Okay. And what is Medicare?
Medicare, you don't see anything.
Medicare, you don't really see anything. But they just take it out as Medicare is health insurance when you get older.
Hmm.
It's like a health insurance plan.
So these are all things for like retirement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really control the Social Security or Medicare portion. They just take it out.
It's theoretically kind of like a safety net for the elderly
Okay.
of the country. But it's kind of based on like if you contributed at least Social Security, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a handle on taxes.
Mhm.
Oh, common misconception about taxes. So I hear this a lot. Like people think that when their income jumps to a higher tax bracket, they pay that rate on all their income. That's not true. So the tax rates are marginal, meaning, like, I have an example. If you make $11,000, I have a chart there with the tax rate. You pay $1,100 in tax because the tax on income from between 0 to 11,000 is 10%. So you just take 11,000 multiplied by 10, or 10%, and you get 1,100. Does that part make sense? How I came up with the tax? If you make 12,000, you jump up to this higher tax rate, this $12,000 bracket or 12% bracket,
Only for 1,000.
but you don't pay $1,440 in tax. You don't take the entire 12,000, like you don't take your entire income and multiply it by the new rate. Instead you pay $1,220. You take the 11,000, multiply it by the 10%, and then the $1,000. Only the $1,000 do you multiply it by the 12%.
And that's added.
Different tax brackets.
Okay.
Different tax brackets.
Yeah.
Alright.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes I've heard people say like they don't want to raise because they would go to a new tax bracket and they don't want to pay more in taxes. But that's not true. That's not how that works. Like you will, like even if you make more, you will pay more tax on like the next dollar you make. It doesn't affect like the past money you've already earned.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, so what if you were at the 22% bracket?
It's the same thing. So you would, the first 11,000 you pay 10%. The next whatever 33,000 you pay 12%, and then
Whatever is left.
whatever's over that you pay 22%.
Of that money.
Yeah, of the money that you made over 44,725, you pay.
So
the
they're
22%.
breaking it up into the 10% chunk, the 12% chunk,
Mhm.
and the
Yeah.
22%
Yeah.
chunk.
So these are brackets for like the marginal. It's not like it doesn't. You don't multiply the tax rate by your entire income.
Okay.
You break it up into these sections.
So if
And
someone makes $600,000, they don't pay 37% of that.
No,
No.
not for 600,000.
No. So like the first 11,000 is only 10%.
Okay.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Only the 22,000 that they made above,
578.
yeah, 578. Do they pay 37% of that in taxes?
And they paid that section 37%.
Anything over that, you have to. The maximum tax bracket is 37%.
Is this state or federal?
This is federal.
It's only the federal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So for Illinois, it's just a flat tax. It's
Okay.
just 4.95%.
Gotcha.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
If you do the math, like say that someone's making 600,000, and they like just do the flat tax rate of 37% on the 600,000, would that be more
Yes.
than
Yeah.
the?
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
marginalized.
So there's two things. There's the marginal tax bracket, and then there's their effective tax rate. Their effective tax rate is what your, it's not in a chart, but it's their tax divided by their taxable income. So if you owe like, if you say your tax was $10,000 on $100,000, your effective tax rate is 10%. So the effective tax rate looks at everything. Your total tax divided by your taxable income.
Okay.
Almost always, I can't think of a situation where it wouldn't be. Your marginal tax rate is going to be higher than your effective tax rate.
Makes sense.
You guys got that?
What's marginal tax rate?
Marginal tax rate is
Yes.
these brackets,
Okay.
like 10, 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's
Marginal
gonna be
tax rate
higher?
is the tax you'll pay on your next dollar.
Okay.
Like if I've already made $100,000, the next dollar I make, I'm gonna pay 24% of that in tax.
Okay.
Yeah, the marginal tax rate is the tax rate you pay on your next dollar.
Got it.
The effective tax rate is your total
Just total.
tax. Yeah,
Okay.
does that,
Alright.
all that make sense?
Mhm.
Post-tax deductions. So these are deductions that are deducted after calculating a person's taxable income. These deductions don't affect a person's current year tax liability. The most common, that should say post-tax. The most common post-tax deductions are disability insurance and Roth traditional retirement contributions. For insurance, if a premium is paid with post-tax dollars, the benefit will be tax-free and vice versa. So if you pay for disability insurance with after-tax dollars, the benefit will be tax-free to you. Did that part make sense? So if you pay for insurance with after-tax, like if you buy like disability insurance and you pay for it with after-tax dollars, if you make a claim and you get money, that money will be tax-free to you.
Wait, what is making a claim?
Like if you become disabled and they give, like, your disability company is going to give you money, that's a claim.
Wait, what's the disability company?
So your employer usually will have a contract with like a disability company, like an insurance company.
In case you get injured or
Yeah.
something, you can claim your injury, and then
You get injured and you can't work.
yeah,
They will pay you like a portion of your salary.
and that payment will not be taxable because you're already paying taxes on the
Before.
Yeah, you're paying
deduction.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you have employer insurance, would that be, and then you make a claim with using that employer insurance? Would you pay taxes on that usually?
Depends on if you're paying for it
Yeah.
with post-tax or pre-tax dollars.
So if you pay for it every pay period.
You have to look to see if it is, like, on your pay stub,
Yeah.
it'll tell you like this is a pre-tax deduction or a post-tax deduction.
Gotcha, okay.
So depending on that
Yeah.
determines if you will pay tax on the benefit.
So if it's a pre-tax deduction with the insurance,
You will have to pay tax when you get the money.
I see.
But you're getting a deduction
Yeah.
when you're, like, every paycheck, you're getting a deduction.
Right.
Yeah.
I see, because it's not, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We good on that?
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, good.
Roth 401k. So we talked about the traditional 401k where you get a deduction now, but you pay tax on the money later. A Roth is a little bit different. So it's called a Roth because of the senator who like created the idea, but it allows you to contribute to your retirement now, and it doesn't affect your current year tax liability. It only affects so you don't get a deduction in the current year, but when you get the money, you don't pay tax on it.
If you can afford with the Roth IRA is better now, because you pay tax right now. This Roth IRA is growing. By the time you, at the age of 60, you are ready to take your money out, that may be $1 million. That $1 million is tax free.
So suppose a person makes $100,000 a year and they contribute $10,000 to their Roth 401k. That person will not receive a tax break in the current year, but their money will grow tax free. If that $10,000 grows to $100,000 in retirement, they are able to withdraw the money tax free.
Wait, what do you mean that person will not receive a tax break in the current year?
So remember, with a traditional, like if you contribute 10,000, like if you made 100,000 and you contribute 10,000, your taxable income is only 90.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true for a Roth. If you make 100 and you contribute 10,000 to a Roth, your taxable income is still 100.
The percent of
Yeah, your taxable income you don't get a deduction in the current year.
So I guess the benefit would be, well, the benefit to the Roth is like you're putting less money in now.
Yeah.
But
it's tax-free growth.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other way around is you're getting more money in if it's traditional, but at the end of the life cycle it's going to be.
Yeah. So they say traditional is tax-deferred growth. You're not paying the tax now. You're deferring it till later. But when you actually pay it, it might be on a higher balance, but you're not paying it now. Tax-free growth is you're paying the tax now, but when you get the money out later, you don't pay tax on it.
And people say that that's worth it.
Yeah, so it depends. Generally, like the younger I have an example later on.
Okay.
But the younger you are, the better it is, the more likely it's better for you to do a Roth, because there's more time for that money to grow. If you're close to retirement, it might not make sense to do a Roth. It might make sense to do traditional. But when you're young, it's way better to do a Roth.
Because with traditional, you're technically putting more money in, and that money could go faster technically. You know, it could be invested better, or it might go up. I guess. Okay.
So an example. People often ask which is better. It depends. Generally, if a person has a lot of time before retirement and a lot of time for the money to grow, a Roth is a better option. So I have an example. It makes a few assumptions. 10% growth per year, effective tax rate of 25% while working, and 10% when retired. So I use two different tax rates here, because generally when you're working, you have a higher tax rate than when you're retired. So sometimes, like when you get the money when you're in retirement, you might have a lower tax rate, and so that might be beneficial. Yeah. So here's an example for contributions over 30 years. Like, say you put in $10,000. For traditional, you get a deduction right away. So you save $2,500 that first year, but the value after 10 years, it becomes $174,000, or after. Why did I put?
The same.
It's actually it's supposed to be over 30 years. So let me go back one.
No, you calculated only 10 years.
No, I calculated. Oh, why can I not go back on my slides?
No.
Can't use arrows.
No, how do I go back?
It might be because you're recording.
Is the iPad anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
The iPad is recording, so we have a backup. Just in case.
No.
Okay. I don't. The recording might have stopped.
You want to start it again?
No, it's okay. Slideshow.
David, when you start working,
Oh, was he recording?
Yeah.
Through
On
his screen?
PowerPoint.
Through PowerPoint.
when you start working, take the Roth IRA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So-
see.
So you don't need to pay taxes.
That's what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, right. You don't get a tax break now, but you pay the taxes by the time you are 60 or 65.
Worth it at the end.
Yeah. And then you never need to work again. Yeah. You will be a rich man.
Okay. I think this needs to export first before I can go back in. But I will.
Do you need my laptop
No.
for the slides?
Your first session is almost over, right?
I have like 3 more slides.
You can use your laptop.
So did any of it get recorded?
We'll find out.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, one thing you can do is flip the screen for the iPad recording so people can actually see the PowerPoint.
Oh, maybe I'll just hold it up to the camera. No, that's not gonna work. Okay, but so even though, so the general idea is like if you're young and you have a long time for the money to grow,
Yeah.
like the Roth will be a better option.
Okay.
We'll trust your numbers.
Yeah, you'll pay more in tax in the first year,
Okay.
but when you take the money out, it'll be tax-free growth.
Okay.
But if you're old and close to retirement and there's not a lot of time for that growth, a traditional might be a better option.
Suppose you put $100,000 in your Roth IRA, the whole life, the many years you worked, you put $100,000 in a Roth IRA. But because of the market was doing so good, this became $1 million. But when you are on traditional IRA, you pay that $100,000 for taxes. If it is 10%, you pay $10,000 all those years. But when you become $1 million, you paid only $100,000, but $1 million tax free. Yeah.
Do they both invest in the same way?
Yeah, the actual
they grow at
investment
the
is
same-
different than, maybe I'll just make this screen big here.
Do they grow at the same rate?
Yeah, so what you actually put in, like the actual growth is not dependent, so the Roth and traditional are account types. Like they're not actual investments. Once you put money in the account, the investments you pick are what determines the growth. It's
Future
not,
topic.
yeah, that I guess that might be a future topic.
Investment.
definitely.
Investing.
The more risk you take,
Topic 2, investments.
you can make more money, you can lose more money. The more risk you have.
So you could lose money in your Roth, in
Yes.
your IRA, if you make bad investment.
And
Yeah,
401k.
you could lose money in anything.
Yeah.
Unless it's a
I
bond.
wouldn't say that. You could lose money in most things, but generally you want to take.
Longer term, you may gain.
Yeah, you might like if you invest in the stock market, it might go up and down in the short run, but over a long period of time, it goes up. So like, if you have like a short-term horizon, like where you need the money in like next year, you probably shouldn't put it in the stock market. But if you only need the money in like 20 years from now, stock market's a good option. But the biggest thing, like the big takeaway, so I have 2 slides that talks about like investments compared to like 20 years or 30 years versus 10 years. The biggest thing is time. The earlier you get started, the better, because you need the money to grow, and interest, like it compounds. So if you're growing at 10% a year, and you put in 100,000, that first year, if it grows by 10%, you gain 10,000, it becomes 110,000. That second year, if it gains 10,000, it picks up 11,000, the 10% of the 110, and then it grows. So it's compounding. So the earlier you get started, the better. That's like the big key takeaway.
When you say interest, though, it's not actually like,
Yeah,
it's not a savings account, though, right?
It's not a savings
Yeah.
account. But the stock market, so historically it averages 10%.
Okay.
Like some years it goes down.
Right.
Like
Some-
20,
Some
22
years it can go down.
yeah, 2022 was a bad year. It went down like 19% or something like that. But in 2023, it went up like 25%.
Right.
So it fluctuates every year,
Mm-hmm.
but generally it goes up.
What
Um,
fluctuates?
The
The
stock
stock market.
Oh.
You could also put money in like a high yield savings, which that's like it pays you like a fixed percentage interest percent. So I think like rates right now are like 4.5%.
Mhm.
So that pays you like every month a certain fixed amount. If you're willing to take risk, the more risk you take, the more potential reward you could get. So you could take the safe 4.3%, or you could like invest it in the market, and you might get a higher percent like return, but you may also lose money.
But does that mean you should put all your money in your 401k or Roth?
So 401k and Roth, those are for retirement.
Right. So what's the purpose of having one of those
For
4.5 saving account? Yeah.
wait, say that again.
What's the point of having like a high yield saving account?
That's for like immediate needs. If you need to keep money in like an emergency fund,
Mm-hmm.
like just in case you need money for something, you could pull it out from a high yield savings account anytime. 401ks are for retirement. You don't have to wait
You
till
cannot
retirement.
touch that money until you
Yeah.
became.
I know. I was
59.
just trying to
59 and a half.
show that you probably should have
Yeah.
a savings. Like these are good for
For the
long
future.
term for the
Right.
future.
And there's also like, so these are just retirement accounts. You could just have a regular brokerage account where
What is that?
that's just like investing in the stock market,
Pull
but
it
it's not for
anytime.
retirement. You can pull out that money whenever you
Anytime.
want.
You gotta know what you're doing.
So it could really just depend on what year you retire, and you could really make a lot of money, lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but generally, when you retire, you don't pull out all your money at once.
Oh.
So
Okay.
you just pull out like pieces.
Oh. Okay. Gotcha.
Is that for tax purposes?
Tax purposes, and usually like when people like need money, like when you retire, like you don't need like your like $1 million all
Right.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
Like you can generally spread it out.
Is
Are
it
you
more?
allowed to take it out though?
Yes, you're allowed to take it out after you hit retirement age, which
Yeah.
it's
You
like
can
70.
withdraw everything you
You
want,
can withdraw.
or you can take.
So why don't people do that?
You pay
Because
more taxes.
You'll pay more in taxes. So if you withdraw everything, you'll be in a high income tax bracket.
Yeah.
Like you saw that chart I had
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
You'll be in like a high tax bracket.
So that's why I was saying it would be, for tax purposes too, it would be beneficial to not take it all at once.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So even like if you're taking out money from a Roth IRA,
That
you're
you
not
can
going to
take.
be taxed on. You're not going to be taxed on that money.
No.
But then later on, will you be taxed on it?
No, you'll
Oh,
if
that-
the
that-
money from a Roth IRA,
You'll
you
just
won't
never
you
be
won't
taxed.
you're paying taxes when you put the money in.
Okay.
So any money you take out, you don't pay
That
tax.
money, Roth IRA, you can withdraw everything.
Yeah.
And you won't get taxed on it.
Yeah,
anytime.
you don't get tax on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Traditional IRA, you don't withdraw the all money together because you'll be paying too much tax.
Okay.
I mean,
Are 401ks and 403bs the same in
Yes.
terms of how like when you pull out money and when you're taxed and all
yeah.
that?
403B is just the not-for-profit version of the 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 401k, that's just like the section of the tax code that talks about it.
Wait, I'm confused though.
Mhm.
Because if you take out like a traditional 401k,
Mhm.
if you take out piece by piece, you're still paying like a percentage of that piece to
Yes.
tax.
Yeah.
Even if you take it out as a larger portion, you're paying the same percentage.
No,
No.
because if you take out a larger
Oh, you're in a
portion,
bigger
you'll
tax.
jump
Bigger
into
Remember
like,
the brackets?
Yeah.
I see.
The math
But-
is thing.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
once you get to a certain age, the government starts to force you to take money out of your traditional accounts.
You cannot.
They're called required minimum distributions.
Okay.
So you're forced to take money out and forced to pay tax on that.
Hmm.
Interesting.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In my traditional IRA,
Mm-hmm.
I have $300,000.
Mhm.
before the minimum required distribution,
Mhm.
I passed away.
Mhm.
You are the beneficiary.
Mhm.
Do you need pay tax on that?
I
Yeah,
don't,
$300,000 you are going to get it, or you need to pay tax.
I don't think I pay tax. I think what happens is I get that money, I get that account, but I think it's a step up in basis, meaning that your value of that account, like when I get it, is
Yeah.
300,000.
Yeah.
If that money grows to 400,000, I pay tax on 100,000.
Oh.
But it's valued at what's the value of that
Or when I
account?
die, it is only 300.
Yeah,
But you are not able to take it out right away.
I can.
Even though you're not retirement age.
Yes, I think that's how it works. I have to double check on this. I know for like property, like houses,
Yeah.
like if you die, I get the house and then the value of the house on your date of death
Yeah.
is the value is the basis I have.
Oh, okay.
So if you die and the house is worth 500,000,
Right.
and then the value goes up to 700,000, and I
You
sell,
pay for only 200,000.
yeah. Even though
For
if you
tax.
even though you only spent 100,000 to build a house or something.
Okay.
I think it's similar for retirement accounts, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Why would you-
What about stock market?
Yeah, that's similar to like a house. Like if
Oh, is it? Oh.
the value of the stock jumps up to whatever it is, the value on date of death.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Why would you like? You were like we were saying like you could take out that 300,000. Like why would you leave it there?
Take out the 300,000.
Like
Yeah, he has an
If he
option to
left
take it.
300,000 for you,
like
Yeah,
Or
why would you keep it in the?
why would you?
if I
keep it
think
in
it'll
your
if I think it'll keep continue going up.
yeah,
Like for it to grow.
Yeah.
to grow.
Okay, I have a slide on 1099s, but I think I'm gonna skip it because I feel like this is already a lot of information.
Yeah.
Okay, almost time it.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, and future topics. What topic would you like? Was this helpful?
Yes.
Very
10 out of
helpful.
10. Good job,
I
Uncle
need
Boy.
this.
What future topics would you like to go over?
Investments.
Investments. Okay.
Just anything about investments. I got
Growing your money.
But first of all, you need to
Broadly.
make money
And
to
then how
invest.
do like savings
And
accounts
you
work?
have to get out of debt.
Yeah.
Investments,
How to make the most
savings,
money in one
and
summer.
debt.
Budget planning.
Okay.
Budget. Okay. So here I'm hearing investments, budgeting,
savings.
Actually,
how to
go ahead.
manage
Savings accounts.
savings
Okay.
accounts.
I think one, two, it's not too big, like deductions that you put on your W-4, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Filling
Oh, yeah,
out a W4.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a lot.
Not how much money you make, but how much money you spend. That is the key.
You could turn off the.
Saving. If you have a habit of saving while you are young,